There is a really big stigma in the fitness industry of needing to be absolutely shredded year round in order to validate your credibility. I think this is a very, very scary theme to have, given that there's such a rise in body dysmorphia and mental health images in guys. And for me personally, I'm someone who doesn't like to get that lean once again. I was down into the single digits probably for 6 months of my life, and it was very, very grueling. So in this video, I want to talk about kind of the pros and cons of getting that lean and why I will never be getting that shredded ever again. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, welcome back to the Lifting Nomad. My name is Alex, and as always, thank you for watching the video. Feel free to leave a like or comment in the section below. It always helps the algorithm. But again, in this video, I want to talk about why I will never be getting stage lean or like single digit body fat shredded probably ever again in my life. Maybe if there's like some super challenge down the road, but overall, I'm just not going to be that ripped on a consistent basis. And for reference, I started as someone, if you've never watched any of my videos, I was 220 pounds at my heaviest at 5'11", so a pretty beefy, chunky boy, as you could say. And at my absolute leanest, I think I got down to around 148, 149, had a like really, really solid defined six pack, good vascularity across my abs, and through my arms and through my forearms and my legs. And I just looked really, really good. It was a cool feeling, and it was, obviously coming from someone who used to be a lot heavier, it was pretty awesome, I will say. And it was it was a big accomplishment for me to get that far and see that my body was capable of changing that drastically given where I had started. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of detrimental situations and a lot of bad feelings that happen to you, both mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, is more about the dark side of it, especially being someone who's a natural athlete. I've never touched PEDs. It does make it a lot harder to stay that lean year round, because it does actually just tank your hormone levels pretty drastically. Even if you're on PEDs and get down to this like really, really, really like stage shredded, it is going to suck. No matter how mentally strong you are, no matter how good your mental fortitude is, it is literally going to just take everything you have to not just fold up shop and stuff a pizza into your face. And why does that really happen? Well, a number of reasons. For me personally, when I got down to like 160 and then I was getting like 155 and then low 150s, I was in the deficit for over a year at this point, pretty much straight. I didn't really go off of plan during this time. It was during like the peak of COVID when I wasn't traveling as much as I am now. And I pretty much that's all I did. Like 6 days a week, I was just training. I was eating maybe 1,600, 1,700 calories a day. During that time, I was doing 12 to 15,000 steps a day. My gym sessions were around like 1 to 1.5 hours doing progressive overload. Some of this was actually in my apartment, so I was doing things like, weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, and progressively adding more weight week over week. And then by the end, like some of it, I was back in my mom's house, so I actually had like a bit of a home gym. So I had squat, bench, deadlift, all that good stuff. But it does make it just really, really hard to stick in that deficit for that period of time, simply because your body is just like really starts to get hungry. I think in the first, like, let's say month when you get into that deficit, you're not really gonna feel it too much. I think in the first like 2 or 3 weeks when I get into a diet, I don't really notice it that much. And then I start to get things like headaches, my sleep quality goes down, my exercises, my strength actually starts to go down as well. And it becomes really, really difficult to stay increasing your progressive overload week over week, simply because you don't have the energy to do so. Then it just spirals into even worse things, like your headaches are gonna affect how you sleep, and then you're really hungry trying to get to sleep. And then sometimes, I was trying to take like sleeping pills or melatonin or something like that just to actually put myself to sleep, because I just couldn't, I was so hungry. And then that just makes your sleep quality even worse, and then your recovery suffers. So there's kind of a lot of things that go wrong when you're actually starting to get down into like as lean as your body can get. And then one of the other things that people don't talk a lot about is, I think especially coming from someone who used to be a heavier person, the actual coldness. Like I live in Canada, so it does get pretty cold around here, especially like in the winter months. But even in the summer, like, when it's really summer, sunny weather, people are at the beach, I would be getting pretty cold if I got like wet and then I was drying off, because your body just doesn't have any like fat to protect your organs and keep you warm. So there's a lot of just like bad things that actually happens to you physically, and then obviously like the mental toll that happens from having bad sleep and not enough energy and really pushing your body in the gym. You start to get pretty irritable, you become a bit of a dickhead, you're short-tempered, you can lose it on like family or friends pretty quickly, even though something minuscule that normally wouldn't have set you off, all of a sudden you find yourself maybe getting a little bit angry with those around you. And it takes just such a massive amount of discipline to stay in that deficit. So I do obviously want to give credit to people who do get this shredded for a competition, whether that's beach ready or stage ready, whatever that is, that's your kind of goal. It is a monumental achievement. So if you're someone who is never really in shape and you got there, don't undersell yourself on how impressive that was and how much pain and agony you had to go through to get there. As anyone who's got that shredded knows how badly it just sucks. Like it really just sucks a lot of energy out of you, and you don't want to keep doing it. That's why like these extended diets for like 6 months to 12 months, if you're in a deficit for that long, it can actually really affect your metabolism, your testosterone levels, and overall your hormone balance. That way at the end of the diet, at the deficit, you're only eating, like for me, I was down to like 1,600 calories a day on top of 6-day-a-week cardio, on top of 6-day-a-week training. Like that's pretty crazy. I would think like most people my age and height should be able to eat around like 2,400, 2,500 calories, given how much exercise and how much cardio I was doing, and still be losing a little bit of weight. But unfortunately, I had just been in a deficit for so long that I think it had just really greatly reduced my metabolism and how effective it was. And then on top of that, I just have bad genetics for staying lean to begin with. Most of my family is like, relatively out of shape. No one has had those like crazy genes of just like being like an athlete or being vascular or like beach ready, kind of anyone in my family. No one really looks like that. So for me, I think it was just a lot harder to get there. And even as a kid, I never really was like in shape. There's a lot of people who, if you remember like being as a kid playing sports or like something like that as a teenager, there was kids who were just like absolutely shredded, never even picked up a weight or like tracked calories or counted how much protein they're having. Like they just like worked. Maybe they played sports, maybe they did some work around the house for their family, but something in their genes just let them look that great without a equal amount of effort, considering like once you get into like your 20s, if you never really were in shape, it's very hard to get there to like absolutely shredded. Now, with that being said, I think there's the reason I wouldn't try and do it again is also it's really hard to make like actual strength gains and muscle gains when you're in that much of a deficit for that long. Like me personally, I know I'm not putting on much size. Like when I'm at 150 pounds, I'm lifting my absolute weakest. I can't do shit in the gym. Like I just feel bad, I'm weak, I'm tired, I get a headache if I don't take enough caffeine, and then my lifts don't really progress. So it's really hard to put on size and put on muscle. And they say like generally most people between like 10 to 15% is like the healthy range of where you can put on your most muscle without gaining like a ridiculous amount of body fat. Like obviously like power lifters and like strong men and those kind of builds, you get up into like 25, 30% even body fat, and you're putting on as much size and calories in your body as you can. You're not really caring about body fat, especially at strongman. As you can see, like most of those guys don't really have like defined abs. But then for instance, someone like Eddie Hall, when he did cut down, he had so much muscle definition. I think he had abs of like 350 pounds, which is absolutely mental, right? You think of it, but that's just how much size he had underneath that. But because you don't really have to monitor your body fat so much for that sport, it doesn't really matter, and they're putting on as much strength as they can. Personally, I think there's somewhere kind of in the happy medium of where I'm, when I'm at 150 pounds, if I had like a 6-pack and a pizza, my abs are like gone. I get so bloated, my face like puffs up. Like it's just such a drastic change in the amount of calories your body's used to that it would just like ruin my day. So I would go like 6 days a week of perfect dieting, so much training, and then I would go out maybe a Saturday night with some friends, and then I would just feel like ass. And then even more so, my body dysmorphia was getting so bad that like if I did end up drinking like some beers or having some bad food and my abs weren't like perfectly dialed in, I would like not even want to take my shirt off. Even though I look better than 80 or 90% of the people on the beach beside me, it's just something in your head like gets in there that you need to look perfect year round in order to be good enough to share your content. And that kind of gets like to full circle here. Like me personally, I think I'm my happiest when I'm, let's say, better shape than 80% of people or 90% of people, but not that top 10% or 5%. That's just like where you really have to get to that next level of being like extremely dialed in on your diet year round. So much cardio, so much training, your sleep has to be perfect. You're not able to like go out and eat out because then you don't really know the calories or the macros. You're definitely not able to you're definitely not able to have alcohol or travel the same way that I like to live my life. So for me personally, I think I'd rather have kind of a balanced approach that puts me somewhere in the middle of looking good, but also doesn't sacrifice my ability to live my life. So with all that being said, that's really the reason I'm never going to get that shredded again. I think it's just, it's impressive for people who can do it. And obviously like it's an admirable thing. If you've never done it before and you want to try it, you know, knock your socks off, go do it once. I think I would never get down to that lean again where I'm sitting at like 145 or 150 pounds. Like I think it's just too small given that I'm 5'11". I'm not tall, but I'm not a short person. So at that kind of weight, it is very, very light. And I want to get stronger. I want to put on some size. So right now I'm doing a reverse diet, slowly increasing my calories to ideally reset my metabolism, because I do still think I have a terrible, terrible metabolism from all those years of dieting. So my goal is to like slowly increase calories over this winter to allow myself to get back to like a decent baseline that's somewhere closer to where I should be, given my exercise level, given my age, and given my height. So hopefully this video was useful to hear a little bit about my philosophy around not getting back to like stage lean or beach lean or as lean as I've ever gotten. I just don't think it's worth it for me. Obviously, you know, hats off to people who are doing it. It is an incredibly difficult thing to do, an incredibly impressive feat to accomplish as a bodybuilder or like a fitness athlete of any kind. So, you know, kudos to you. But for me, that's gonna be kind of my thoughts on it. So hopefully this video was useful to hear a little bit about my experiences. But as always, my name's Alex. Welcome back to Lifting Nomad. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.